Dr. Winfield Bevins joins us on the Church Planting Podcast this episode. Winfield is the director of church planting at Asbury Seminary. He's trained and coached leaders from around the world, and he's a sought-after speaker, a prolific author, numerous books, including Liturgical Mission and Marks of a Movement. But he's far more than an academician. This guy is a practitioner and has tons to teach us. Winfield Bevins. So everyone, I'm absolutely delighted to have my friend, Dr. Winfield Bevins, on the Church Planting Podcast with us. Winfield, welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Winfield, you're the director of church planting at Asbury Seminary. Great seminary. But tell us, what exactly does that mean? What do you do there?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I've got really an exciting, I love what I do. So I work with academic programs. I work with leaders from around the world. So we have degrees, we got traditional degrees. We got a doctor of ministry, church planning. We got masters, church planning degrees, and that's all really cool stuff. But what I love that I get to do is we do networking, and we work with global leaders from around the world. We've had some generous funding for our church planning initiative. Every few years, we host global summits where we gather leaders from around the world. So what's neat about what I get to do is I do a lot of work in North America, but a lot of it's global in scope. We've helped trained over 1,000 leaders in probably 30 different nations over the last 6-7 years. So that's kind of quick snapshot of kind of the scope of the work that I do.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit, because when most of us think seminary, we don't think church planting. So yep. Asbury's kind of unique in that. How did that get started? I mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
So really, Asbury has a long history of mission and renewal, church renewal. Really started, I would say, with our president. Timothy Tennant came from Gordon Conwell, and Dr. Tennant is really a world-renowned global missiologist. And when he came here as president, he said two things were were going to be at the forefront of his presidency, and one of them was a focus on the global church, and then the second was a very strong focus on church planning. The future of the church will be church planning, and it will be global. And so those things converge with the work that we're doing here at Asbury. And so we launched a center, or in the initiative around, I came here around 2015, and it's really been amazing. We've had donors and groups have really come alongside it and have caught the vision. So as a seminary, I think it is very unusual. I honestly don't know of any other seminary that's actually working with the scope of what we're doing. Not to brag, but again, we've moved beyond just traditional, training and equipping. We actually have funding. We have fellows positions. We take on 20 plus fellows a year. We coach them. We offer a micro grant funding where we come alongside and actually fund and coach leaders as well. So it's okay. So first of all, I agree. I think Asbury needs to be lifted up and applauded and celebrated in God's kingdom and I'm grateful that you all have a president, Dr. Tennant, that actually his vision is global missiology and reaching people around the world as well as church planting. I think we're all blown away by that. Now, but I still think most church planters that we're working with today at Stadia, and I think around the world, they're not thinking seminary when they're thinking church planting. So why, for all those listening right now, why should they even look at Asbury? Yeah, I mean, again, you have leaders at different levels of their leadership. So, for instance, in MA, for a lot of actual planners who are getting ready to plant, our approach to MA programs, it's hybrid, so they can actually learn while they're still kind of have boots on the ground. So in some ways, it's an add value to the work that they're doing. So if they're working with a network, they're getting that type training. What graduate education will do, it'll just stretch your thinking. It'll stretch your mind. Many of our programs are cohort based. So you'll interact with other leaders and planters from other traditions. So it'll kind of stretch you in that way. One of my favorite degrees is the Doctor of Ministry, which really is leaders like you. I mean, these are oftentimes, I've recruited some of the world's leading church planting thinkers into the Doctor of Ministry program. So imagine being, talk church planter language. Imagine you're doing a learning community, right, for 3 years. Well, why not get a doctorate degree?
I agree.
As a part of that. And so what I love about the Doctor of Ministry program is essentially it's a learning community where you're coming together with other leaders for 3 years. You're gathering once a year. You know who you're studying with. So even if there's online components, you're interacting with the same people. It's cohort based. Your professors are not just kind of ivory tower academics, but they're actually engaged practitioners, expert practitioners as well. For instance, I teach, but I've planted churches. I've helped start networks. I've worked cross-denominationally and globally. So you're getting those type of learning kind of experiences that you just wouldn't get on your own. And it stretches you beyond your own tradition. And I think that's one of the things that we do offer. Asbury has 140 plus denominations, students representing, probably 50 plus nationalities. So you're getting kind of a global and interdenominational kind of education that comes with it.
Okay, so as you know, I'm looking very seriously at your Deep Min program. I value it very highly. I love the cohort idea, but as church planters and leaders, we're all very busy. How much is online? How many times? Do I have to come to Asbury? Do church planters actually have to come spend time? And by the way, where is Asbury?
Yeah, so this is the great thing. Asbury is like in the heart of Kentucky. So we have extension sites, different parts of the U.S. We've got an Orlando site. There's, we have several others at Memphis and some other places. But the main historic campus is here in Kentucky, 20 minutes from an airport. So it's quick to,
Awesome.
You can get here from pretty much anywhere. The Doctor of Ministry and master's programs are set up to where they're hybrid. So, the Doctor of Ministry, you actually come once a year for, say, a week. And the rest
that's not
of
bad.
it is online. It's cohort based. Our master's programs are set up to where there's hybrids, where you do some purely online courses, purely online. Some of them are in person for a few days. So typically you can come in for a week hybrid where you can kind of put in several classes in 1 week. And so what I like about our hybrid approach, some seminaries have just caved in and just are all online. What I love about our program is we believe that there's formation that happens by being face-to-face with someone. And so this is kind of the best of all worlds where you have time together, you know who your faculty are, you know who you're studying with, and then there's online learning that goes alongside it. So you know who you're studying with when you are doing the online pieces. So think in terms of probably committing probably 1 week of face-to-face, whereas you have other kind of online elements that you're able to do whatever you're doing. And these are busy, church planners are busy. Church planning leaders like you are busy. And again, so there is a sacrificial component to it. It's real robust education and training. But I would also add, one of the things that I love about Asbury is it's a school that has a historic commitment to spiritual formation and to prayer and to seeking the renewal of the church. So there's a real spirit-filled, discipleship-oriented commitment to the education that we offer.
Okay, this is amazing. So, but let me talk about. Church planters notoriously have no money. So we have. So, let's talk about that as well. Let's just be real candid.
Yep.
Is this a really expensive program? How am I going to pay for this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we've got several incredibly generous donors who have all the cool stuff that I've mentioned that we get to do is because of the generosity of kingdom-minded donors that have said, we want to commit to equipping church planners, and church planting's hard, and church planners are always looking for funding. So all of our degrees, some of the most generous scholarship degrees that we offer are our church planting degrees. And so again, you can share my contact information. People want, specific information on numbers and scholarships and stuff like that. But we have amazing scholarships that we offer. The other add benefit that I would say for those that are planting that would say, maybe I do need a degree is we have a fellows program where people can apply for the fellows. There's funding that comes with that. We also
hold on. So for a lot of us, we don't even know what fellows means. Can you explain what a fellows?
So the fellows program is if you apply to be a fellow, you'll be a part of a learning community with 5 other church planners. You'll receive monthly coaching with that group of 5, and these are leaders from across the U.S., across traditions. And so you're going on a journey with them for a year. So you get free coaching. You're in community. This group of 5, they're praying for you. You have a mentor. I do some of the coaching. I've got a handful of other, certified coaches that kind of do this with us as well. And each fellow gets $5,000. So again, it's just you apply for it. It's free. You get money. We actually give you, you get free coaching and you get funding as a part of it. So it's really excellent for those that are within the first 1 to 3 years of a church plant. And it's, again, think add value. This is not replacing, say, what Stadia is doing or what a denomination's already doing. This is just on top of, some additional.
So, you and I have talked, and I guess what I would say to everyone right now is, Winfield and I have talked real numbers, real dollars, and I would say pretty much anyone can make this happen financially. The generosity of their scholarships is incredible. So don't let that be a stopper for you. Just, get a hold of us at Stadia. We can put you in contact with Dr. Bevins and Asbury, and we'll have his contact info available on this podcast as well at the end. I got to go back to the very beginning of the podcast because I know every church planter out there heard this word when you said it, when we asked, what do you do at Asbury? And the word funding came out of your mouth. And I know every church planter now has been waiting to go, okay, are they going to mention that again? And you all have had some, I was just kind of blown away by the amount of generosity that people have invested to invest in church planters. Would you mind talking just a little bit about maybe some of the things that are going on with that?
Yeah, you mean in terms of funding that we offer, or
the church plantings? There's some crazy stuff that you guys are doing.
Yeah. So again, we have scholarship funding. We have the fellows program where, if you're accepted as a fellow, you get free coaching. There's a $5,000 kind of grant that you're given to use whatever, health insurance, website, evangelism, outreach, whatever is going to be a blessing. We also have a matching grant fund that we've just launched. And so what this is for alumni. So if you are at Asbury and you have graduated or are actually in one of our programs, we do have a matching grant fund that we are able to offer to come alongside planters that are already getting funding from their denominational network.
Okay, so don't miss that, because what that means is if you get in one of the cohorts or networks with Asbury, with Stadia, because Stadia is looking at forming cohorts as well. I know we've talked about doing some Latino cohorts and I think we have some Stadia staff that are looking at putting cohorts together. I'm looking at a D-Min cohort. But if you're involved in that program and you're a church planter, there's an opportunity for you to gain pretty significant matching grant funding. And there are things you have to check out, but I'm telling you, Asbury's doing this right. Okay, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit now, Winfield. I mean, you're involved with church planters throughout the U.S., around the world. What are some things maybe that you're excited about, some things that you're watching, some trends right now?
Yeah, I think, coming out of, the past couple years, I think there's a stronger emphasis on spiritual formation and leadership resilience that may be previous to pandemic and all the pandemonium of the cultural stuff that we're dealing with. I think we're seeing turnover, leadership burnout, and I think there's typically, there's this, typically we think of church planners as like the type A, highly caffeinated, super entrepreneurial. There's that stereotype. And I think there's kind of this fresh openness to say, hey, you know what? Like, I need to care for my soul. I need to, focus on my family. I need to do the stuff that's going to keep me from getting burnout. And I think that's a really healthy thing. That's definitely something that I've been championing and doing research in that area for years. And I'm very excited about the openness for church planners. I think one of the things that's emerging leaders, I think one of the things we're seeing is, the rise of bivocational kind of alternative financial streams, the micro church. People are really open to new, fresh expressions of church, which is really exciting. I think opening the door for multi-ethnic leaders that are leading the way in terms of what God's doing in the church today. That's very exciting for me to kind of see how
let me dive in on that one, because as you know, Stadia we're working really hard on kingdom diversity, racial diversity. So in these cohorts, I believe Asbury is a big champion of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, because we've been global, multi-ethnic, a lot of the leaders I'm working with are Afro-Latino leaders across the U.S. Of course, we're working in different countries, but in the U.S., a lot of the stuff I've been doing is with bilingual cohorts. We have a full, Spanish-speaking program, so we also offer degrees. So maybe there's some leaders that are listening to this that are, bilingual or predominantly planting in kind of Spanish congregations. There's a movement we're working with, Greg, that if you don't know about them, they're the Bhutanese Nepalese church in North America. They were refugees from the Bhutan, and were in Nepal for a number of years and came to the U.S. There's thousands of them. It's one of the fastest growing Christian movements in the planet. Like, it's amazing what they're doing. Their president has been through our programs. We've had a number of their key leaders have been through our masters and are now in our doctor ministry programs. So we've partnered with them. And so that's just one example of a movement here.
That's one of the things I love about, cohorts and networking together is, no, I'd never heard of the Bhutan Nepalese fastest growing movement. But when we get to spend time together, that's one of the beautiful things is we get to hear those stories. In one of the hardest to reach peoples in the world, the Nepalese right now. I just spent 3 weeks in Nepal. We got lots of church planting going on over there, but it's not an easy field, right? Here you're saying it's spreading like wildfire.
Yeah, I mean, so there's this whole movement in the U.S. of communities of faith that are just rising up among, refugee communities, and they're all across the U.S. They're in all these places. So a lot of these trends, a lot of this exciting stuff that we're seeing, these are not main stage platform speakers at the big conference. I'm not going to name any conferences or whatever, but they many of them don't have websites. So the average Anglo congregation they don't even know this is happening. It's the ferment that's kind of happening underneath the surface. And we hear all the numbers and statistics about the decline of the church in the West. I would say actually there's the rise of these beautiful immigrant multi-ethnic congregations that are rapidly spreading, all across the U.S. And again, it's hard to document because it's typically micro, it's typically bivocational.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's fascinating as I talk to bivocational pastors coming from other countries into the U.S. For them, bivocational is normal. They don't even consider, nor do they desire to work full time at a mega church, which is kind of the American dream, and has been not so much now, but they're just normative in bivocational, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Okay, we have just a few more minutes, and I want to clarify this because we're talking about fellows, which sounds very male. Just out of curiosity, just to make sure we're all good with women coming into these cohorts, right?
Absolutely. So fellows is a historic kind of academic language. So I just called it that to fit within the academy model. So you go to Oxford, you go to Cambridge, there are fellows. So absolutely, Asbury from the very beginning has been a champion for women in ministry and women church planters, and a dream I've had. And man, this is another thing we need to dream around, is like we could start a doctor of ministry church planning degree just for women leaders. Like literally, we could build cohorts. And again, so a lot of what we're doing is, so for instance, I just produced our second Global Summit book. It's called Hope in Hard Places. And I can send you a PDF of this, and your listeners can purchase this on Amazon. But what we do is when we host these summits, we bring together leaders from around the world to just share case studies. Tell us what God's doing in your context. So 3 of these 8 leaders were women leaders who are leading in different global contexts. One is Christina Angina, who's in Zambia. The other is a leader who, her name's Maj-Britt, in Denmark. I've worshiped in her home. She's a church planter, Methodist planter in Denmark. I was there for a covenant renewal service on New Year's a couple of years ago. It was beautiful. We had this just a beautiful kind of home gathering worship experience. And then the other is, so we've got leaders in all of these different places. And then the third female planter is Valerie Grimes, who who's planning in Savannah, Georgia, who's a dear friend. And so these are 3 of the case studies. So one is an African, one is a European, one is a North American case study. So yes, women church planners, we want to say come.
I love that. Okay, I want to come out as we wrap up. I want to come back to I have a dream. So Winfield, when you finish that, so I have a dream. When you think about Asbury, when you think about your life and what you're giving it to, what would that look like? Let's just say over the next 10 years.
That's great. We are in the process of, I will say this, because by the time this comes out, the church planning initiative is it's going to be a center. So it's the Center for Church Multiplication moving forward. And the dream that the Lord really gave me is we want to really equip 10,000 church planners in the next 10 years.
Wow.
That's the number that the Lord's given me. Global church planners, women and men, we want to equip, all sorts of, one size doesn't fit all. And we just want to fan the flame of church multiplication around the world and across North America. So that's really my dream. That's the number that the Lord's given me. And we're going to do it through coaching. We're going to do it through training, equipping, funding in some cases. But we just want to put fruit on other people's trees, and expand the kingdom that way.
Man, I think you all can see why I was excited to have Dr. Winfield Bevins on the Church Planting Podcast. Winfield, thank you so much. I think may all your dreams come true. We're with you, partner.
Amen. Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure. Thanks.